What's going on, good people? It's your brother, your uncle, your favorite realtor's favorite realtor. And for today's video, I want to do a little bit of a story time. If you're a real estate agent, have you ever had a situation where you are representing a buyer and then you call a particular property listing and you talk to the other agent, and the other agent is like, you would think they would be excited to get a call from you as the agent, about the property that's for sale. And all of a sudden you find them to be extremely combative and short, and in some cases even snarky. Like if you're trying to get into the home, it's all kind of like, is your client pre-approved? And they just start asking all these questions instead of being excited that someone is calling on their listing in today's market. So that's the situation that I dealt with, and I want to get you all's insight watching this to make sure that I wasn't tripping. When you're communicating with agents, especially if you have a client that's really interested in submitting an offer, I never suggest blindly submitting an offer without talking to the real estate agent. Just for one, to get a gauge of where I think I might have some wiggle room negotiation wise for that particular property. And also because we're human beings, and I think that it's important as human beings that we still engage with our fellow human, to introduce ourselves, let the person know that we are interested in the property. Don't give away anything like, you're getting ready to submit an offer or anything like that, but you just want to get a gauge on, one, if the home is still available. Two, how motivated is the seller? I also like to ask questions like, outside of the sales price, Mr. and Mrs. Listing Agent, what are some of the factors that your seller is looking for in an offer that they'll accept? Because obviously, the default thing is to talk about price, but there's got to be other factors on top of price that a seller looks at, right? They got to look at all the terms of the listing and what other things outside of the sales price is going to get that deal going, right? But also, when I have those conversations with the seller's agent, I want to kind of find out if there's a little bit of a whiff of desperation, as it relates to how motivated they are to sell the home, right? If I hear an agent tell me off the rip, my seller's really, really motivated, like we're really motivated and da-da-da. Some sellers, agents, they don't have a poker face to save their life. They literally will show the desperation and the need to sell that home. And in so many ways, as a buyer's agent, I'm still friendly and jovial and cracking jokes on the phone and all that stuff, but I'm using all of this stuff as intel. Especially if I smell a little bit of desperation, I'll say, well, tell me about the roof. Tell me about the overall condition of the home. It's been sitting on the market a little while. And if I ever run into a situation where the other agent is a little kind of combative, like asking me questions like, why you want to know? What's going on? I don't really trip on that. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, at least in my market, it may be different in your market, but I find that oftentimes when I'm talking to the other agent, they literally are like ready for war for like no good reason. As soon as I hop on the phone, they're very, very short. If I ask about how to access the property, in some cases, they're incredibly, snarky and just asking questions that's like, dude or gal, do you want to get this deal done? Like, what's going on? What's with all the energy? And so I had a situation where, I was asking questions about the property because we were actually getting ready to submit an offer. And the agent said to me, oh, well, this is a price that the seller's going to, they're not send this amount. And which I think is interesting because we all know as real estate agents by law, if an offer is submitted to that listing agent, they have to submit that offer to their client. It could be $1, And so for them to tell me that, that doesn't move me to the left or to the right. If somebody is interested in my property and they want to sell me an offer, that's kind of that. I'll submit it, because I have to. But, that agent already was giving me the vibe like they were ready for a fight. And I'm of the mindset, don't look for smoke where there is no fire. You know what I'm saying? If you are a listing agent and somebody calls about your property, you should consider yourself blessed, because there are a lot of people that their homes are sitting and they ain't getting no calls, and the last thing that you want to do is be combative to the other agent, because at the end of the day, a lot of these deals get done because of the agent to agent relationship. If I'm in a situation I have, in a lot of cases, the seller will ask me on a particular offer that we get, what do I think about it? Ultimately the choice is theirs, whether they're going to accept the offer or not, but they do lean on my insight as the buyer's agent. They're going to ask me questions about the deal, the way the contract is written, what stipulations are asked, and they're going to ask me my opinion, and I'm going to share my professional opinion. So I think that when you're dealing with a situation where the agent is just not friendly, very cold, they may not even take your call. They might just talk on text message only, which I hate that, by the way. Pick up the doggone phone and talk to your fellow agent if somebody reaches out. But you stay as the agent, cool, calm, and collected. This is a tough market right now, and a lot of listing agents right now are feeling the pressure because they oversold the ability to sell that home to that seller. That seller's putting the pressure on them. It might even be coming up to the end of their listing agreement and they haven't even gotten one solid offer. So they're worried that they're going to, all the effort that they put into it is going to be for naught. And so rather than looking at any person that calls as, okay, this particular person could be the one that ends up putting an offer on my property, some agents, unfortunately, if they're having a bad day, they let you know that through their actions. So you as the agent, don't clap back, don't go tit for tat. If a listing agent is not being super friendly to you, that's all right. At the end of the day, everyone kind of has their own version of their poker face, and some people are, it just kind of is what it is. But I stay cool, calm, and collected always, because you know what? You might be having a bad day, but as Tabitha Brown says, don't you go messing up somebody else's day. You hear? So that's the approach that I personally take is if I'm talking to another agent and that other agent is being not the nicest and not the kindest, I remain nice and I remain kind. Of course, I don't get disrespected or anything like that. But if you're being combative or anything like that, that ain't got nothing to do with me. At the end of the day, you're going to take this offer, you're not going to take this offer that's being written. And if you don't take the offer, we move on to the next property. No big deal. So let me know in the comments below, how do you handle combative real estate agents that are on the other side? If you're a seller's agent and you're dealing with a buyer's agent, or a buyer's agent dealing with a seller's agent, and you've run into situations where you've wanted to tell that person where to go and how to get there, let me know in the comments below if I'm tripping or if there's another way that I could have, should have, would have handled it based on your insight. And let's keep the conversation going. But before you go, YouTube thinks this video right here is going to be pretty helpful for you. The algorithm has chosen this video for you to watch at this moment. So before you log off and move on to the next video, tap in with this video right here, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.